Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Last Friday too,
Thank
Toby.
you,
Fellow Piscean, yes.
Yep.
Tell us about you Pisces before we march on. What's
Dreamers, I can
Yeah.
admit to it all. Very romantic.
Yeah.
Very romantic.
Are ya?
Yeah, which doesn't work well with my husband because he's so not.
Yeah, I'm very affectionate.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to lie. Got to
Yeah,
be
go
careful
on.
what I say.
the go? Happy birthday to my sister-in-law Leah. It's her birthday today
happy
as well.
birthday.
My wife's not as affectionate as me.
Right.
Wow.
So it's like that, when you're trying to
Yeah.
cuddle, get away, I've had enough.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yes.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I love a good cuddle.
Yeah, but see, we're the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pisceans. I don't
We're
think-
nice people.
Yes.
Thousands would disagree, but we are.
No. well,
Genuinely
well,
nice people.
Leah, and my daughter a couple of weeks. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Nice people. Okay, we're going to talk about a horrific crime which rocked Australia in 1986, the death and murder of Anita Cobby, Toby.
Yeah, mate. When you think of all the most heinous acts that we've all probably grown up with or seen over the years, this would probably be the worst that I can recall for the public outrage, for the attention that it got, and just for the crime itself. And I won't go into too much detail of exactly what happened to Anita, but out of respect for the family or anyone else. But, like I said, when I started doing this, there's some crimes I probably wouldn't go to. This was one, but then reading into it was a bit more. And, of course, I got to speak to a source yesterday who was on the scene at the time. It was actually one of the 2 police officers that were sent to the crime scene to identify the body, to see if it was Anita when they found her. But we'll get into it first, and then we'll delve into what I had to talk about with the police officer yesterday. So we'll do the timeline. So it was February 2nd, 1986. Anita had finished work in Sydney Hospital just here in the city, and she got a train back. She had dinner with friends at Redfern, then got a train back out to Blacktown where she was living with her parents at the time because she's just broken up with her husband. What she used to do was call her father from a payphone, and the dad used to come and pick her up. It was late at night. Unfortunately for Anita that night, the payphone had been vandalised, and so so she decided to walk. Unbeknownst to her, there was a car full of 5 terrible humans following her, 2 of which got out and grabbed her. Now, it was witnessed by a brother and a sister who saw her kicking and screaming, and they dragged her into the car. From then on, without getting too much detail, she was tortured, raped, and then her throat was slit and she was left in a paddock in Prospect.
Which is now where the M4 is, right?
Yeah, that's correct. It took 2 days before the farmer or the person owning the property found her because he saw the cows milling around a certain area out there. Police put up I think it was a $50,000 reward at the time. Then a phone call came through by the gentleman owning the property that he believed he found the body of Anita. And this is where my source had been. He was heading back to the station with his partner, and they got a phone call to go out and check to see if it was. And they went out there, and it was Anita, and that's when the whole thing started off. And I always remember the public outrage.
Oh,
It was massive. For those who weren't alive back then, and it's probably a lot of listeners because a lot of the young guys are driving now, we haven't seen anything, I don't think, since.
Thank God.
To go, yeah, well, that's right, yeah, 100%. To rival what actually happened that day when they were getting taken, the 5 guys. So there was 3 brothers, Les, Michael, and Gary Murphy. There was John Travers, who was probably the ringleader, and Michael Murdoch. John Travers was the one that was mainly so.
How old was John at the time?
He was 19, I think.
Right.
He was one of the youngest. Yeah, so they were 19 up to, I think, 26 was the eldest. So they're actually young. They weren't old. Like, they were young.
But you know the thing that gets me, and this is why this is probably such a huge crime, for how heinous it was as well. Things happen, and it's just a warped individual. But to have 5 people to think this is okay, that is really, really stuffed up, isn't it?
Well, reading into the case today, especially because I started getting into the law bit of which I'll dissect soon. Reading into it, the reason he wanted her murdered was because they'd done so much to her and she knew the names of all of them and saw their faces.
Was there any background between herself and the man, well, I can't call him gentleman?
No, I don't think there was.
No.
They were from out there. They were well known as raccoons and
Yeah. Well, for me, I'll paint the picture. For me, I was in year 6, and it happened. I grew up in Auburn, so Blacktown, the station. I was familiar with all those places, and I can remember it happening. I remember that before they'd found the body, we were locking doors, and my goodness, we'd never seen. I mean, even me as a child, I was exposed to probably not the detail because I've since read the book and all the rest of it, but I do remember just being really scared about these individuals because my grandfather lived at Granville, and one of those was from Granville. And I was like, I go to Granville every Saturday and Sunday to see my grandfather. So it was all happening all so close and around. And as I say, we'd never seen anything with this kind of detail.
To anything like this at all.
And you were referring before about the public outrage. People wanted these people dead.
And what about the lives of not just the people affected, involved? It's every single parent who's got their kids going to school and around those areas. And
I think you might be able to elaborate on this. I remember as a kid thinking, oh my God, if only that phone worked. Oh my goodness, if only that brother and sister had have done this. There were so many missed opportunities where this could have been stopped.
Apparently, I was reading today, so obviously when you go online you read a lot of different stories, but one of the reports was the young boy actually ran across the road to try and help, but two of them jumped out and just dragged her straight. She had no chance probably against these guys. Now, these guys were notorious for drinking, drugs, the whole thing when they were doing it. John Travers had a reputation for even bestiality.
I was about to go there.
Yeah,
I thought, did we go there on radio?
Yeah, I know,
absolutely. I remember.
Trying to read it all today and trying to put it together, there's so much you have to watch what I'm trying to say here because it's so...
I understand,
you've read it.
I understand he had a bit of a ritual where a cement slab and bring on the sheep or the lamb or the...
he was bad. So when they got into the... when they ended up getting caught, Travis's... The reason why they knew it was these guys, Travis, his story changed so much. And then I think they got his sister or his auntie to sit outside the jail cell because they actually hadn't got him. So the others only got charged with stealing the car because the car was a stolen car that they got her in. So the others had only been charged with stealing of the car. They then sat the sister or the auntie outside his cell door, I think, and she was mic'd up and she got the confession out of him. Now, when I was talking to my source yesterday about this, there was a lot of talk about how the police had bashed them when they got to court and they've been brutalised. And he said to me that there's just no way it happened because the police were, he said, things like that obviously did happen back then. He said, but for this case especially, everyone was on their game. He said the demeanour of the police was just so strong that no one wanted to stuff this up so the prosecution would lose in court because everyone wanted to get these guys. He said everyone, even the public that didn't like the police, were all on side of the police to try and pull these guys away. The problem with the law, especially with this case, John Travers pled guilty. The others pled not guilty. So they tried him under common purpose law, which is if you and I rob a bank and you go in and you hold the bank up, I'm in the getaway car, but you kill one of the bank tellers, I can still get charged for the murder as the accessory. So we're both up. And that's how they tried to do it on here. So it was a fine line when you get into law, exactly how you perceive the law when they go in. So I was reading the defence, Michael Murphy's legal aid counsel, and he was saying, so obviously they said, no, well, we don't know what John Travers was going to do. He was the perpetrator. All of us, we were just there. So it would have been a very, I suppose, scary time for the prosecution because you had the whole of Australia baying for blood for these guys. And you can lose it with, just the wording of law when you go to court. So they'll think of even maybe charging some with manslaughter, because then
just to make it a tap in.
That's right, exactly right. And then obviously you would get the never to be released sign stamped on the manslaughter. But they ended up getting found guilty by all the jury, which you couldn't imagine anyone finding them not guilty. But the crime was just.
I think the fact that you talked about us all assuming and the rumours around that the police did get stuck into it, I think that was more just a bit of a sweetener for all of us that something more was happening to these horrible creatures.
Well, the thing was, no one probably would have cared back then. Because remembering this crime, there's not many you remember so vivid. But I always remember the footage from the news when they were taking these guys in the back of the old paddy wagons into Blacktown Police Station.
The yelling,
and the crowd
screaming,
outside
abuse
was 400 deep. throwing things. Like even the police probably needed security for themselves just to get these guys into Blacktown, because the whole community just banded together to want these guys, put away. It's hard to explain without going into the exact crime. You said you read the book, and for those who want to look it up, please do. I'm not going to explain on here, but it's probably one of the most.
We've seen Janine Balding, we've seen Ebony Simpson, but this was.
It was just different, and I think it changed the way I think police looked at how they handled a lot of cases too. When I was speaking to my source yesterday, and he said that the police had really changed a lot of them, and he said there was one detective out there. He said never got really the raps, Graham Rossetti, and he said he was definitely one of the main guys. He said because it got passed on, I think, to like higher up, more higher up people. He said, but he was from the Blacktown where he was from, and he said this guy was unbelievable in his pursuit of bringing these guys down. He said he deserved more raps than what actually happened.
Right.
But John Travers, he's still alive, but Michael Murphy, he has passed since he died of, I think it was cancer he passed away from in jail. But, like John Cobby, who was Anita's ex-husband, said, it's 1 down, 4 to go, because this crime, I think it changed the way Australia was with the landscape of crime, with murders especially. Well, there's not many, I suppose, growing up, Port Arthur, Azaria Chamberlain's probably one of the biggest I've ever seen, which we've covered.
Yeah.
I won't cover Port Arthur because there's just respect for too many families.
But again, the Port Arthur one, right, is one warped individual.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
This had like 5 people who were some way involved in this.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they're all as guilty as each other. Whether or not John Travers did it, before he did what he did, they all tortured her. They all raped her.
Any one of those could have stood up and said, "Hey, enough."
That's right.
Stop.
And they
This is
didn't.
not right.
And when you read their backgrounds, like John Travers' background is just all about getting expelled from school, police, housing. But it's just a list. It's just a list and a list, and it's just a doom coming up for him later in life. It's just how it's heading. Unfortunately for Anita Cobby that night, that payphone didn't work. Like we said, her father didn't know. I think she got a late train as well, so she was home later, or she missed a train, or one was delayed. Everything just led to that moment of them meeting her on the side of the road and them being out looking. So it was unfortunate for her, but it would have happened, I think, that night, whether it was her or someone else, because these guys were out
On a mission.
A stolen car, that's right, on a mission.
Am I right in saying, Tobes, that almost from the following night on for the next week or so, whether it was an actor or a policewoman, or they'd almost dressed her up.
Yeah, police lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I got her name here. They did. Where is it?
But they dressed her up and
Constable Debbie Wallace. Yeah, reenacts Anita's movements from the night of her murder.
So isn't Debbie Wallace the one that went on to become the created Raptor? I think she.
Oh, was she?
Went all the way. I think that's Deb Wallace.
Oh, really?
Yeah, pretty sure. Might be
Yeah,
wrong.
maybe. Yeah.
the
Pretty
strike
sure
force.
that's Deb Wallace. Yeah.
Oh, really?
She created Raptor.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll double check that with the text message
So
right now.
So Constable Debbie Wallace, reenacts. So they dressed her up, did the whole thing like they do, and I remember
Walk the same path.
Walk the same path. You don't see that much. You don't really see that. I remember Samantha Knight, because I grew up in Bondi.
Of course.
And when Samantha Knight went, they must have done that 100 times.
Yeah.
Still trying to find out until they realised who actually, the guy actually admitted to doing it. But, you don't see that as much as, the young boy that went missing. Is it William Tyrrell?
Oh, Tyrrell up there,
Up
there in Kew.
That's right, underneath the overpass there.
Yep.
They put the thing up there. And
The Ebony Simpson one was quite a big one too.
But, Debbie Walsh, they dressed her up and she did all the reenactments to try and get something. Because I think it was so late at night, obviously those, only the brother and sister were the witnesses to what sort of happened. And
How old were they, Tobes? Do you remember?
they said they were young.
Yeah.
I didn't say that. I just say young. They might have been like 12, 13-year-olds.
Oh, yuck.
I mean, as I said, mate, the source that I spoke to, and thank you very much to Dave out there, but he, he was the first, him and his partner there, and I just wanted to get his feeling about how it was from the police side, how the demeanour was for everyone. He just said, the police were so on point in this case, they just did not want to lose to these, to these vile humans. They just wanted to make sure that these guys got put away, and it would be...
Yeah, I'm right.
It
Just
is her?
double checking. Yep, Deborah Wallace joined in New South Wales in '83. As a young constable, she was asked to reenact her last movements of Anita Cobby.
It was her then, yeah.
Wow.
So there you go. So she started out there and ended up being one of the leaders. But I can't remember, even now I don't think I've can remember a harsher crime, as in just like a single murder type thing. Like you got obviously the serial killers, things like that. Like just something that just, I suppose, conjoled everyone together.
Well, as you said, it was such a bad crime where these very brave police women and men who were involved in it, and they had support of the community.
Yeah,
right
that's
behind
right.
them.
Yeah, everyone met. Like
A lot
I
of
said,
fear, driven by a lot of fear as
that's
well.
right. It was one of the times where everyone was. I'm not going to say people don't like the police, but you understand a lot of people just don't like police.
But you just imagine the regular person who would get off at Blacktown Station for work,
That's right.
male or female. You know, how long were people on complete eggshells for?
Oh, would have been even when these guys got arrested. Still, you would
Yes.
think even for years after, like young ladies
Yep.
finishing work, getting off at Blacktown at 10 o'clock, would just be thinking, "Oh my God, like this is where it happened." You would be scared.
Well, there you go. There's a good example because I was only in year 6 then, and when I started, my first job was in Triple M in Sydney. So I used to get on the station, train at Auburn, go to Bondi Junction, and I was reading the book.
Yeah, as
Not
you
a
do
good,
it. Yeah,
not
no,
a good
no.
thing.
Oh,
to do.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably easily the top 3 worst crimes in Australian history, I'd say, for what happened, without going into detail. But like you obviously know,
Yeah.
it's,
True Crime Tuesday, Toby Dow, Anita Cobby. If you missed any of that, the podcast will be waiting for you. Tobes, thank you very much, mate.
Talk about changing pace.
Yeah, your Roosters.
Yeah, mate,
What are you
yeah.
feeling?
oh mate, look,
Should be feeling good.
Well, I felt good last year as well.
Right.
A
Yeah.
lot of people had them last year as going all the way, but I don't know what happened there. But, mate, I'm predicting Sam Walker to have a massive year. Because I was listening to you when I was coming in and you're talking about the Dally M Award. I've backed Sam Walker to win the Dally M.
Wow,
Really?
That's big.
Well, I'm not going to say he got outed, but, he got stood down, to work on a few things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I think those sort of decisions make
That's
people-
right, 100%. And when he came back, I think the last 4 games he had, he was unbelievable. He was just a different person, and I think
He's still a baby too, which people forget.
he is. That's right. He
But
is.
I also think that just going back to then, I don't even think Robbo could put pinpoint what was actually wrong with the Roosters.
Yeah, no.
And a lot of the blame was heaped on
Sometimes
Walker.
it
Not
just-
necessarily from Robbo, but
Like you've played, sometimes it just you can have everyone you want. It just doesn't. Maybe it just doesn't gel. And I just got a feeling he's going to have a massive breakout year, even though everyone already knows who he is. But I've just got a feeling Sam Walker's going to have a huge year this year.
just a quick one from me.
He's 21.
Robbo's the next Sir Alex Ferguson. What do you think a coach should be at a club that long? I think that's
You know what?
Nick's
There's
crazy.
I
Love
listened
Nick
to an
Politis,
interview on
but-
the radio not long ago about, I think it was an NFL coach, where one team had changed NFL coaches over the years. They had about 10 or 20 different coaches.
Yep.
One club didn't change him, didn't change the coach. They had the same coach for years. And they looked at the results. The guy that was there the longest had better results than the club that kept changing. Kept changing. They go, well, not always it's the coach. Sometimes it's the players that have to take the responsibility and they move on. Robbo's, he's pretty revered, I suppose you'd say, in the East and with the Roosters. And, the main thing is he's loved by Nick and
Yep.
Yeah.
all of them. And I suppose that's what matters. And he's got the results so far. Like the Roosters always are there or thereabouts.
And not forgetting, like he's a red hot chance of. So what would this be? This would be his 12th season, Trent Robinson. He could have 4 premierships in 12 years. That's pretty good.
It's a good average.
Yeah, but I don't see a coach being in charge that long can be a healthy
Well,
12, 13, 14, but yeah.
but I think
But if Wayne was still at the Broncos, would anyone of the Broncos be worried? Like, look, he's still revered, Wayne.
But see, I think the key in that, Michelle, is the recycling of your player talent. So if you go through the team right now, Siwa Wong's hardly had him.
Yeah.
No, that's a point.
Walker's hardly had him.
Yep.
So if you're
Adam Kieran only had him for 5
Swali.
minutes.
Yeah.
Swali,
Swaliti, yeah,
he's only been there.
that's
He's
right.
still new.
Egan Butcher's hardly had him.
Yeah.
Spencer Leniu.
Yeah.
And
So-
they're losing a lot of depth of players that have been there for a long time this
Yeah.
year. Like Jared's going. I rate Jared still the best buy
Yes.
ever for the Roosters that I can remember.
Yeah, so if you keep recycling and having your most influential players on board,
Freddie went all right.
Yeah, but look, I agree. Freddie was good. Cooper Cronk's good. But when you look at longevity and look at what he's done, like I don't know if I can find a better buy than they've had. Like he's led that forward pack for a decade, and has led them to 3 premierships.
Okay, so
Spent a lot of time on the sideline too, just quietly.
yeah.
when's
Big
Jared
fan
back?
of Jared.
When is he back?
After round 1,
2 or
round
3?
2.
Yeah, round 2.
Okay, round 2. Hypothetical. So he's a famous clubman, right? Famous clubman.
Would have loved to have seen him play in the US.
Does he start?
Him and Daniel Tupou, the only two from the 2013 grand final.
Yeah.
So if they come out with a blasting victory over the Broncos, you got Spencer Lanier there. You've got Terrell May, Lindsay Collins,
Nafur White.
Nafur White. Where is he in round 2?
He makes the team. Someone misses out. He makes the team.
He has to make the team.
Yeah,
So-
100%. He's their leader, regardless of who you got there. He's still their top.
So if Terrell May, Spencer Lanier, and Collins all have a blinder,
Yeah, but someone else will miss out.
so
Like
he would
Nafur
run.
White will miss
He'd
out.
run 4 front rowers.
Yeah, he did most of last year.
Yeah,
Well, they better get their act together. They've only got the rest of this year because he's off next year.
it's a great problem to have, isn't it?
It is.
But yeah, no, that's right. Well, Spencer Lindy's still got to prove that he's a starting prop.
Yeah, minutes wise.
That's
yeah.
right. So
You know what?
it's-
That I kind of always admit when I'm wrong, and I didn't think I could see Spencer Lanier going there and doing. I just didn't think he'd fit into that culture. I thought he's entrenched in that Western Sydney. But yeah, I've got other thoughts on.
It's one of the things everyone's going to obviously look at to see how he goes because he was such an impact player for Penrith off the bench.
Your mate Brian Fletcher has now been on a plane for about 6 hours.
Yeah.
Around the grounds. What are you seeing there?
Depending who's around him.
Yeah. Well, Matt Johns is with him.
Yeah, that's trouble straight away. Fletcher'd be terrible. Although I've got to admit, obviously I've grown up with Fletch, but he's one of the guys I know that can have a really good hit out, and he still looks normal.
He can back up.
But he just doesn't look
Yeah.
messy
Yes. No line.
because he's a big body.
Yeah.
Like my wife always says, she goes, "I never see Brian." Like,
I would love the passenger list for this chartered plane. and honestly, you could run your own little doco just on that
it'd be
flight.
so good. How many journos do you reckon would have jobs?
Oh. Couldn't you? You could
Mate.
do a doco, a little TV series just on that flight.
You could.
the doco just around the Johns Fletcher seating area.
Oh, mate, they would be dominant.
worth its weight in gold.
They would be so dominant.
Because Fletch would kill Matty if
Yes.
they kept drinking the whole way. Matty'd
Yes.
be out.
I wonder if
Matty'd
they
be
can
passed
mix
out.
drinks. Is that a
I'd
thing?
love to be. I would love. That would be a great reality TV program, wouldn't it? Just having.
We should be onto it. You too.
Can't you?
let's
Could you imagine the
put our
eyeballs,
little
Michelle,
heads around.
Keeping up with
Don't worry
Bears
about Gogglebox.
live TV
Oh, yeah.
on that plane?
Oh.
We're onto something.
Well, the thing is, I know after 10 hours, Fletch would still be going.
Yeah.
And I know Matty would probably be under the seat.
Gibbo, you're a reality TV fiend. Would the chartered plane, would that rate as a 24-hour Big Brother or a 14-hour Big Brother, whatever the case may be? Oh, we can't hear him. Gibbo says he's nodding. He would love it. If we threw you on it, it absolutely would rate.
It'd beat a Gogglebox type.
Yeah.
And I'm not a maths fan, so there you
Neither
go.
am I. I don't watch any of them.
There you go.
All these texts coming through, Dunny, Hillstorm, Hillary, but we have absolutely hit the finish line. Toby
wow.
Dow, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Loved
Very
it.
poignant chat. The show ebbs and flows, riveting. Cheers, Budster, who's enjoyed it. David is there. Matt is there. Thanks for all those texts we couldn't get to. Gus Guild, he's in about the hat as well. The bowler hat. It is Gusgate. Thank you very much, Tourist, Gibbo, True Crime Tuesday, Toby Dow, Michelle, but most importantly, you, the listener, which I bet Brian's one of those as well.